Welcome to Connecta. Today, we'll discuss hazardous energy control, more commonly referred to as lockout. You'll be trained. As an authorized employee, you cannot perform lockout unless you are authorized to do so. Part of that training is that you need to demonstrate a competency at a level that can assure you're going to do it safely, keep yourself and fellow employees safe. You will also need to know about your company policy. Your company policy will dictate how you do certain things. You'll also need to know what the authorized employee requirements are when lockout is necessary. You'll need to know about lockout devices and equipment, when to apply them, how to apply them, where to find them. And then following procedures is critical to doing this job safely. Training requirements are all covered in this segment. And also, we talk about the annual audit that's required for all authorized employees. We discuss when multiple locks are required. And then we talk about lock removal and doing it appropriately and making sure it's done before you leave the work shift. When it's all done, you need to know that lockout is something that is extremely important. OSHA tells us that there are 60 fatalities annually and 3,000 serious injuries due to improper or lack of lockout. Lockout kills people. We want to make sure that you understand how to do it properly. OSHA tells us that lockout, tagout programs prevent 250,000 accidents, 50,000 injuries, and 120 fatalities annually. So when do you lock out? Well, whenever you're doing service or maintenance on equipment, lockout is required. Whenever there's unexpected startup of the machine expected, a release of stored energy potential. Anytime you remove or bypass a guard or a safety device or place any part of your body into the danger zone, lockout is required. Energy sources include those listed up on the screen, and you may even be able to think of some others. The one that is usually overlooked is something we refer to as kinetic energy. When something is held up in the air or something could spring back at you, that also needs to be locked out. There has to be a complete process to perform lockout. These processes or procedures have to be equipment specific. They need to identify what kind of energy is there, how to lock it out, or to find the lockout devices. Everything that you need to know must be followed step by step in the order they're presented in the procedure. You'll be trained as an authorized employee, or you cannot do lockout. You need to demonstrate competency, or you will not be authorized. You'll be audited annually to make sure that you are doing it correctly. Normal production operations are not required to be locked out. In this case, what they're doing is using light curtains for normal production operations. These light curtains prevent somebody getting caught up in the machine. Lockout is required whenever you're doing tool and pattern changes because that's considered maintenance. Any maintenance requires lockout. Procedures need to be followed. Verification checks, shutdown preparation are all included. Training for an authorized employee is hands-on. Has to be done by somebody that's qualified, authorized, and that the employer designates as a suitable trainer. After the training is complete, the training needs to be certified and documented. The annual audit will determine if the employee is doing it correctly. And lockout devices can take on many different shapes and forms. Devices have to be secure and locked. It doesn't tell you exactly how to do it because each piece of equipment is a little bit different. The one thing that you must remember is that all lockout devices need to be singularly identified. You need to know who locked the piece of equipment out. You can't use tagout devices in place of lockouts. They have to have the equivalency of a lockout. When you look at the tags, frequently you'll see the person's name on it. That's one way of determining who is doing the lockout. The person doing the lockout maintains the key. If there's multiple locks required, there are hasps that can accommodate multiple locks. If there are large projects, you may need to have a whole crew using a lockbox like you see up on the screen. Lockout removal process is very important. You need to make sure that the startup is done safely and you follow procedure as spelled out in your company policy. So that's it. Now you need to talk to your supervisor so your training can get recorded. You need to make sure that we understand that you know how to do it. You'll demonstrate the procedure specified by your supervisor. That supervisor will be asking you about what's in your company policy, when is lockout necessary. They're also going to talk to you about the lockout devices and equipment, how to apply them, where to find them, and then most importantly, how to follow those procedures. That's what's the critical piece. You should know about your training requirements. And then explain about multiple locks. And lock removal. Well, that's it for today's training. You be safe out there and look out for one another.